After 8 incredible years in hiding, a black maid's secret as a fighter pilot is finally revealed. In the heart of a quaint American town, where the sounds of laughter and sizzling barbecues dance through sunlit backyards, an extraordinary story waited, cloaked in silence. Helen, a dedicated maid who had spent 8 years serving the family that employed her, was known for her gentle smile and tireless work. But inside, she held a breathtaking secret: she had once soared through the skies as a skilled fighter pilot. For a moment, the thrill of a life spent fighting for her country flickered against the mundane backdrop of dusting and mopping. On any given day, you could find Helen polishing polished countertops, her hands gliding effortlessly, as children spun around her feet. Neighbors greeted her with warm nods, oblivious to the history behind her calm demeanor. Yet, as routines settled into place, an oncoming storm brewed in the town. A factory closure sent waves of anxiety through the community, leaving behind a chilling sense of uncertainty. Suddenly, barbecues turned into hushed conversations, laughter faded into frustration, and the unity of this once harmonious town began to fray. Feeling the turmoil around her, Helen received an unexpected call from her former commander. "We need you," he urged, desperation tinged in his voice. "Your story can inspire the next generation." She hung up, a knot forming in her chest. Could she really return to the light after years of shadows? Helen stood at the crossroads, torn between the woman she was and the one she had become. The woman who served dutifully, and the pilot who had fought against all odds. As whispers of dissent and despair spread through the community, Helen felt an urgent desire to speak her truth. She battled with herself: should she remain silent, or step into the spotlight that could shatter the glass of her carefully constructed world? The air thickened with anticipation, and the path ahead seemed daunting, yet the call to emerge from obscurity pulled at her heartstrings like a strong current. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Helen walked onto the stage at the community center, her heart pounding in rhythm with the anxious murmurs in the audience. She began recounting her journey, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. Each word transported her back to those exhilarating moments in the cockpit, battling the skies while carrying the weight of her dreams and the expectations of her country. The crowd was captivated, moving in synchrony with her story. But just as she reached the apex, the moment where bravery sparked hope, an unexpected outburst shattered the cool air. "What do you know about struggle? You've been hiding as a maid." A voice exploded from the back, piercing through her tale. The room grew thick with tension. Eyes widened, hearts raced, and in that fragile moment, Helen stood amidst the collective doubts of her neighbors. Would they embrace her truth? Would they lift her story instead of letting it fall into obscurity? The weight of unspoken fears and prejudices enveloped them all, leaving the community teetering on the brink of redemption or rejection. What lay ahead would determine their fate and Helen's too. Helen's breath hitched in her throat as the words reverberated through the crowd. For a split second, silence replaced the storm of murmurs. Uncertainty clawed at her, tightening with each passing heartbeat. What would she say? Would she defend her choices? Would she show them the truth hidden beneath the maid's uniform they'd grown comfortable seeing her in? Who are you to judge me?" She finally responded, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "You think my life has been easy? You have no idea what I've faced." The challenge ignited the room, shifting the weight of confrontation squarely on her shoulders. Faces that once wore friendly smiles now contorted with disbelief and skepticism. The man who had shouted remained unfazed. "You act like you're a hero. But you've served in shadows, not in the light." Those 3 words lingered in the air. Shadows. Had she really been obscured from the light? Helen remembered the late nights she spent training, her hands gripping the controls of a fighter jet instead of polishing silverware. The exhilaration of flight didn't simply vanish because she'd chosen a different path afterward. In fact, the lessons learned in those skies helped her navigate the turbulence of life on the ground. "I fought for my country," she implored, desperation creeping into her tone. "I fought for your freedom too. I chose to protect my family from pain. I lived in shadows to keep them safe." Whispers began to swirl, igniting a flicker of curiosity in the crowd. Even those who had previously condemned her uncertainty began questioning their own views. Did they truly understand the hidden battles fought behind their own walls? Helen's heart raced as she felt a wave of solidarity wash over her, rising from tongues that had once spoken against her. "But that doesn't change the fact you're just a maid," another voice chimed in, softer but no less dismissive. "Just a maid," Helen repeated, her voice now resonating with strength. "I may clean floors, but I've also flown with the best of the best. Don't let my title define my worth. We all have stories that deserve to be told." She scanned the audience, locking eyes with several who looked as though they were grappling with untold experiences of their own. Gradually, faces softened, tears appeared, and even a few heads were bowed in contemplation. Could they see her not just as a maid but as a woman who fought through hell and high water to survive? Every moment, every struggle she encountered, molded her into the fighter she was. As she finished her speech, Helen opened her arms, inviting understanding. "I stand before you as my true self. I implore you, find your truth. Speak your struggles, your stories. Together, we can lift each other." The murmurings changed. Some voices now reflected support, while others voiced disbelief. But amidst them, a child's voice piped up from the front. "I want to be a pilot too. Can you teach me, Miss Helen?" Helen felt tears prick her eyes. Hope spread through the room like wildfire. The outcry of the unexpected encouragement broke through doubt, gracefully tipping the scales from judgment to acceptance. But before she could respond, the tension shifted again as footsteps echoed in the hallway. The doors swung open, revealing a guest who would change everything. "I heard about the meeting and came to find you," said a young woman with a determined expression, holding something in her hands. "I'm here to share my story, and it might just connect us all in ways we never imagined." What secrets would she unveil? What struggles had she faced? As Helen's heart thundered with anticipation, she realized that the turning point might just be beginning, not just for her, but for the entire community. The room buzzed with an electric mix of uncertainty and excitement. The newcomer stepped forward, her eyes scanning the crowd with purpose. Helen held her breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle heavily on her shoulders. The woman, dressed in a simple, yet elegant outfit that suggested her own hidden story, took a deep breath. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't stay silent any longer. My name is Olivia, and like Helen, I have lived a life defined by choices that have brought me here today." Helen's heart raced. Olivia's words seemed to weave perfectly into the tapestry of support that had begun to unfurl in the room. She could sense the crowd leaning in, eager for more. "I spent years believing that my worth was tied to my job," Olivia continued, her voice quavering, "just like you, Helen. Every day, I fought to be seen, while hiding in plain sight. But last year, I joined a community group. We aim to amplify voices that often go unheard. I've found my voice, and it feels powerful." As Olivia spoke, Helen felt a strange connection with her. She wished they could have shared these journeys sooner. She wanted to wrap her arms around the woman and lift her up. "You see," Olivia pressed on, "it's not just about our jobs or our titles. It's about the strength we find in our stories and the courage it takes to face adversity. Each of us has faced our own battles, unseen but deeply felt. It's time to be brave together." The room now felt alive with raw emotion. One by one, people began standing up, sharing snippets of their own hidden struggles. A widow spoke about the grief that wrapped around her like a heavy shroud. A young father shared his fears of losing his job after being laid off. Each story resonated like a note in a symphony, building a sense of unity that sent shivers through Helen. Helen herself felt a rush of determination. This was a moment unlike any other. A wave of gratitude poured over her, a reminder that, even in the darkest of shadows, light could still emerge. As the stories flowed, Helen glanced at Olivia, witnessing the fire ignite in her eyes. "We are not just maids, we are warriors," Olivia declared, her voice rising, reverberating with certainty. "We've fought battles every day. Life has tried to pin us down, but we are here, standing tall, pushing back." With those words, Helen felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. This was exactly what she had been yearning for: camaraderie, connection, and empowerment. It wasn't just about her journey anymore. They were collectively transforming the narrative. Just then, a whisper swept through the crowd. A man in the back raised a hand, his tone uncertain but firm. "If we're sharing stories, then maybe we should talk about what's next. What do we do now?" Helen exchanged glances with Olivia, both of them recognizing the weight of his question. They had touched the surface of something significant, but what lay beneath? What were they willing to do with this newfound strength and unity? Before Helen could respond, a woman with fresh tears in her eyes stepped up beside the man. "I want to know what's stopping us from creating a community center. We could help people find jobs, share skills, and support one another." The room buzzed again, this time with ideas, excitement, and questions. The moment hung thick in the air, a perfect blend of hope and possibility. As Helen took a deep breath, ready to step into this fresh wave of intention, she felt an electrifying anticipation bubble to the surface. She glimpsed a future filled with promise, but it was clear that beyond this moment, a multitude of challenges awaited them. "Let us take this step together," Helen urged, exhilaration charging her voice. "But we must realize that while we can uplift each other, true change comes when we fight our individual battles too." And as she spoke, Helen could tell they were at the precipice of something monumental. Would they jump into action together and carry the momentum forward? Would they finally step into the light, ready to shed the shadows of the past? The crowd's energy surged like a tide, leaving a lingering question in the air. What would they choose to do next, now that they had found each other? The energy in the room was electric, yet a palpable tension lingered. People exchanged glances, as if weighing the gravity of their next move. Helen felt a rush of excitement and apprehension mix within her. How far were they willing to go? Could a dream of a community center truly transform their lives? Her heart drummed in her chest as she glanced around. The widow had tears in her eyes, and the young father appeared lost in thought. Olivia stood beside her, firm and resolute, embodying the very hope everyone craved. There was a fire within, ready to spark change, but it needed fuel. "What if we start small?" Helen proposed, her voice steadying as the crowd quieted. "Maybe we begin with workshops. A place where we can share skills and experiences. We could collaborate with local businesses to provide job training." The suggestion hung in the air, and Helen could see the wheels turning in people's minds. There was a soft murmur of agreement. A few faces lit up, considering the prospect of learning new skills and finding pathways to independence. "That sounds wonderful," Olivia chimed in, nodding enthusiastically. "We can create a schedule and invite speakers. We can bring in people from different backgrounds to share their expertise. Imagine the possibilities." The idea ignited a flicker of excitement throughout the crowd, laughter and murmurs of delight bubbling up. Helen felt her own enthusiasm growing. She could almost see their vision coalescing into reality. A young woman with vibrant red hair stood up next, her eyes wide with anticipation. "But what about funding? We can't just rely on volunteers. We should look into grants or even fundraising events." Her voice, though uncertain, was full of passion. "Exactly. We can host bake sales, art shows, and community events." Helen exclaimed, feeling the momentum shift. What if we turned our experiences into learning opportunities for others? We could highlight our journeys through different forms of art or storytelling. The crowd began to stir with ideas, murmurings of enthusiasm flowing through the room. While they discussed, Helen felt a knot tighten in her stomach. There would be obstacles. People in their community might resist, funding could prove elusive, and the work would be hard. But there was a lightness in the air, a sense of shared purpose. With every voice that chimed in, hope transformed into a tangible force. Then a voice broke through, deep yet hesitant. I think this is wonderful, but what if we fail? What if we can't make it happen? It was an older gentleman, furrowed brow betraying a lifetime of cautious decisions. Helen felt the weight of his worry. It resonated deep within her. What if they did fail? But she also knew that growth was often born from risk. We can't let fear hold us back, she replied gently, her words laced with resolve. Every one of us has faced challenges. If we fail, we try again. Together, we're stronger. Together, we can learn. Cheers erupted from the group, excitement spilling into laughter and applause. Helen's heart soared, the fear in the room dissipating. The powerful energy was undeniable. They were crafting something beautiful, an idea that could reshape their lives. As they began to brainstorm next steps, Helen's mind raced ahead. She envisioned meetings, planning sessions, and moments of shared growth. Each face in the crowd mirrored her hopes and dreams, but just as the chatter reached a crescendo, Olivia's voice cut through. And remember, as we build this center, we must also prepare for those who will doubt us, and we will need to protect our vision. Helen felt the air shift. What challenges awaited them ahead, and how would they navigate moments of doubt? Tension braided into the excitement, a reminder of battles yet to be fought. With that, the meeting drew closer to a decision point. They were ready to embark on a journey, but would they be prepared for the resistance that would come? Could they truly pull together to change their destinies? The question lingered, a promise of what they had yet to unveil. Beside Olivia, Helen felt a sense of urgency rise within her, a determination to not only fight for their dreams but to safeguard the fragile flame they'd ignited. What awaited them would shape everything they were becoming. The sunlight streamed through the windows as Helen stepped out of the community center, still aglow from the meeting. The chatter from inside echoed in her ears, a blend of excitement and budding determination. As she made her way down the sidewalk, her heart soared with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Each footfall seemed to sync with the rhythm of the dreams they had just begun to weave, but as her energy buzzed, a shadow crossed her mind. She remembered Olivia's words, protecting their vision. Were they really ready for the pushback they might face? Helen took a deep breath, fighting against the creeping doubt. It was easy to dream, but would they find the courage when actual challenges emerged? Just then, a voice called out from behind her. Hey, Helen. It was Marissa, the red-haired woman from the meeting. She rushed to catch up, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Do you really think we can do it? I mean, all those workshops and events? Marissa asked, genuinely curious. Helen smiled, her heart swelling at Marissa's eagerness. I believe we can, but it'll take all of us and maybe a bit of faith, too. Marissa nodded, her expression shifting. I just hope the others are ready for the work. It won't be easy. We'll figure it out together. One step at a time, Helen reassured her, placing a hand on Marissa's shoulder. Just then, the young father from the meeting, Daniel, joined them. Hey, ladies. I overheard you talking about the workshops. Do we have a date set yet? He asked, his eagerness palpable. Not yet, but we can start planning. Helen replied, her voice growing louder as excitement bubbled. We should make a list of skills people have to offer. Everyone has something they can teach. The trio began brainstorming on the sidewalk, laughter and chatter mixing with the sounds of the city. Ideas flowed and soon the atmosphere turned festive. But beneath the joy, Helen felt the weight of responsibility. Could they manage to hold on to the spirit of togetherness? An older woman walked past them, a scowl on her face. What are you kids planning? More charity nonsense? Her voice dripped with skepticism. The moment hung heavy in the air. Marissa and Daniel exchanged glances, but Helen stood her ground, heart racing. Actually, we're building community. We want to help each other grow. The woman huffed and continued walking, leaving an icy chill in her wake. Helen felt her cheeks flush. The doubt lingered like a cloud overhead. Don't let her get to you, Marissa whispered, nudging Helen gently. I know, but she's not wrong to question us. What if we fail? Helen's heart sank. Daniel's encouraging smile met her gaze. But what if we succeed? Think about how many people could benefit from this. We just need to stay focused. From there, the trio plotted their next moves, sketching a plan for outreach. A flyer here, a meeting there, they talked fervently, the weight of reality slowly lifting. As they reached the corner of the street, a deep, sudden bark echoed from the nearby park. A small dog darted across the sidewalk, followed by a man in pursuit. The erratic chase brought laughter from onlookers and break in the tension. The sight broke through the group's stress. Looks like that pup needs some training. Marissa exclaimed, giggling as they watched the spectacle unfold. And we could teach him the basics right here in our community center. Helen quipped, her spirits lifting as the idea sparked. Each short moment shared was a reminder of the lightness they all sought. Eventually, they made their way toward the local diner, a warm beacon in the late afternoon sun. As they sat down, sharing fries and stories, Helen felt a sense of belonging rise within her. This wasn't just about workshops, it was about connection, resilience, and building a future together, but the fear that had lodged in her chest wouldn't leave her entirely. Even through laughter, she knew that as they gathered strength to dream, they also needed to brace for the storms ahead. Let us promise each other something, she said, pausing to look into their eyes. If one of us wavers or gets discouraged, we pull each other back. No one fights alone. They nodded solemnly, and Helen felt a weight lift. Their pact solidified their resolve, a shared belief in something greater. However, as they raised their glasses of lemonade in a toast, a figure loomed in the window, watching them with an inscrutable expression. What had begun as an innocent celebration held the promise of far deeper challenges. Would they be able to stand strong against the unexpected opposition approaching them? As the sun dipped below the horizon, the atmosphere in the diner shifted, growing warmer with the fading light. Laughter hung in the air, a comforting cushion against the reality lurking just beyond the window. Helen took another sip of her lemonade, trying to shake off the disquiet that lingered. But as the figure outside faded into the shadows, she couldn't help but feel the weight of unseen eyes upon them. Did you notice that guy? Daniel asked suddenly, looking over Helen's shoulder. He was just staring at us. I don't know, Helen muttered, her brows knitting together. He seemed interested in what we were planning. But it felt more unsettling than encouraging. Marissa wrinkled her nose. Creepy, for sure. But I guess we'll have to get used to people watching, right? Are we really doing this? Yes. Daniel chimed in with a smile that felt like a warm blanket. And if we're serious, we can't let any skepticism stop us. We need to keep our eyes on the goal. Helen nodded. The goal. It had never been solely about workshops or events, it was about rekindling the neighborhood spirit, making their community strong. The vision was vivid in her mind, an exhilarating tapestry waiting to be stitched together with everyone's contributions. Finishing their meal, they decided to split up for the evening, agreeing to meet the following day to discuss flyers and outreach strategies. Helen walked home feeling lighter, a smile playing on her lips. Each step brought her closer to her dream. The flickering streetlights felt like stars above, guiding her path, but once inside, that familiar worry crept back in. What if the woman at the community center was right? What if, despite all their dreams, they faced too much opposition? Could they truly make an impact? The whispers of doubt were relentless, echoing through her mind. As she sank onto the couch, her phone buzzed startlingly. It was a message from Olivia. "Hey. Just checking in. How are you feeling about everything? I know it's a lot." The text was like a sudden breath of fresh air. Helen replied quickly, pouring her heart out, sharing both her excitement and fears. "Honestly? I'm feeling both thrilled and scared. What if we can't handle the pushback?" She sent the message and nestled into the cushions, wishing for reassurance. It wasn't long before Olivia responded. "You're not alone in this. Remember, great things come from unity. And I'm here for whatever you need. You've got this." Helen stared at the screen, warming at Olivia's words. The community they hoped to nurture wouldn't just form overnight, but perhaps, just perhaps, they could build it together. Feeling a mixture of gratitude and renewed strength, Helen sat down at her kitchen table. With a notepad in hand, she began jotting down ideas for their upcoming meeting. As her pen scratched the surface, a small spark ignited in her heart, but in the midst of her enthusiasm, the doorbell rang, startling her. Frowning, she set her notepad aside and walked to the door. Peeking through the peephole, she took a sharp breath. It was the man from the diner. He stood there, an unreadable expression on his face, his hands tucked into the pockets of his jacket. The streetlight behind him cast a long shadow, cloaking him in mystery. What did he want? A quick glance at her reflection in the hallway mirror revealed wide eyes reflecting both curiosity and fear. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door slowly, uncertainty clashing with the determination she had stirred up in herself. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The man hesitated, searching for words, and Helen knew in that moment that whatever he had to say would likely change everything. His lips parted, and for the briefest moment, silence enveloped them, thick like the summer night air. The man took a step closer, and the dim light revealed more of his features, a rugged face dominated by striking blue eyes that carried an intensity Helen found both captivating and disconcerting. "Sorry to drop by unannounced," he began, his voice low but firm. "I saw you at the diner and I had to talk to you." "About what?" Helen asked, more curious than cautious now. The weight of his gaze held her in place, as if she were caught in a web woven from her own dreams and fears. He breathed out slowly, measuring his words. "I know you're trying to start something big here, something important for the community. I want to help." Helen's heart raced at his unexpected declaration. "Help?" she echoed, excitement flickering like a candle flame. "But you don't even know what we're doing." He nodded, a hint of a smile surfacing. "I may not know all the details, but I've seen people come together before." His fingers fidgeted with the collar of his jacket as he spoke. "I used to be part of something like that, but it didn't end well. Still, I believe community matters. I want to contribute." "What do you bring to the table?" Her mind raced with possibilities. This could be exactly what they needed, a seasoned ally with insights she couldn't possibly have. Considering her inexperience, he hesitated, glancing down at the pavement. "I have skills in organizing events. I used to work on community outreach in different towns. I learned a lot about uniting people, bridging divides." Helen's doubt surged. "But you're a stranger. We don't really know each other." His gaze returned to hers, piercing and earnest. "I get that, but sometimes it takes a stranger to see the potential in dreams. I know you fear opposition, trust me, I've faced it too. But unity gives strength." As she stood there, resting with the uncertainty in her gut versus the desire for support, memories of her conversations with Olivia rushed back. They had talked about reaching out, about gathering others to share their mission. "Why the sudden interest in us?" she questioned, suspicion threading her voice. "Because I see hope in you. And I've been searching for a way back into a community. I know I can help you reach those goals." He paused, and Helen noted the heaviness in his expression. I used to be someone who let my fears tie me down. I spent years letting my past hold me back. But I won't let it control me anymore. The depths of his sincerity struck her, it resonated too closely with her own aspirations. Underneath that rugged exterior lay a kindred spirit, someone battling demons, just like her. "All right," Helen said finally, her voice stronger now, filled with newfound determination. "Let us talk. We need all the help we can get for this project. I just need to know you're all in." He nodded enthusiastically, his face transforming with relief and gratitude. "I'm all in." As they stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind them, Helen felt a flicker of hope about the future of her community spark to life. Maybe turning dreams into reality was closer than she thought, but just then, her phone vibrated again, a new message demanding her attention. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, she pulled it out, her heart racing only to see Olivia's name flashed across the screen, followed by 3 urgent words that made her stomach drop. "Come quick. It's urgent." What could possibly be so urgent now? Helen exchanged a worried look with the man beside her, and she wondered if they were stepping into something much bigger than either of them had anticipated. Helen's heart pounded as she stared at the screen, her fingers hovering over the message. The urgency in Olivia's words felt like a siren blaring through the haze of newfound hope she had just begun to feel. She shot a glance at the man beside her, searching his blue eyes for reassurance. "What's wrong?" he asked, his expression shifting to concern. I need to go." "It's Olivia." She took a breath, feeling the weight of urgency settle in her chest. "She wouldn't message me like this unless something was really wrong." "Let us go then." He moved quickly, opening the door for her with an encouraging nod. The night air felt cooler now, the excitement of their earlier conversation fading, replaced by a gnawing apprehension. As they hurried down the street, Helen's mind raced. What could possibly be happening? Was it about the community project? Or something more personal? Olivia had always been there for her, a constant source of strength and guidance. The thought of something being wrong sent prickles of fear racing down her spine. The streetlights flickered overhead, transmitting shadows that danced against the sidewalks. Helen's pace quickened, her heart pounding not just from the rush, but from the worry for her friend. The thrum of her heartbeat drowned out the sounds of the night, and she felt as if she were in a movie, the stakes growing higher with every step. Arriving at Olivia's house, she found the door ajar, and a feeling of dread pooled in her stomach. "Olivia?" she called, hesitating at the threshold. The air felt heavy, charged with an unnameable tension. "She must be inside," the man said softly. He stepped in behind her, the warmth of his presence grounding her. "Olivia!" Helen shouted again, louder this time, her voice echoing through the silence. As they moved deeper into the home, Helen felt the blissful memories of laughter, warmth, and meals shared in this very space fade into an ominous cloud of uncertainty. Then, in the dim light of the living room, she caught a glimpse of Olivia sitting on the couch, head in her hands. The sight made Helen's heart drop. "Oh God, Olivia!" She rushed to her friend, kneeling beside her. "What happened?" Olivia looked up, her eyes rimmed with red. "Helen, it's about the project. We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Helen felt panic clawing at her throat. "There's been a report someone's planning to block us. They found out what we're trying to do." "Who?" The question slipped out before Helen could stop it, and she felt anger rising like bile in her throat. The world outside felt suddenly hostile. "I don't know. But I've heard whispers and it's serious. They'll do whatever it takes to stop us." The man shifted next to Helen, his presence felt like a steadying force. But doubt crept in again. Had she made a mistake by trusting a stranger? "Hold on," Helen said, the pieces of the puzzle swirling. "We just started this. How could they possibly know? They don't need to know all the details. Just the idea alone is enough to scare them." "They want to protect their interests," Olivia murmured, her despair creeping into the corners of her voice. Helen glanced back at the man, who was now listening intently. "We need a plan, we need to fight back," he said, his tone fierce with determination. "You think we have time for that?" Olivia protested almost weakly, but Helen felt resolve rising. "Yes," Helen stated firmly, finding her voice. "We can't let them intimidate us. We started this for a reason, let us not back down now." As they exchanged determined glances, the gravity of the fight ahead began to settle. This was more than just about a project, it was about standing up for their community, their dreams, but just as Helen began to feel the flicker of that spark of courage ignite, Olivia's phone buzzed loudly on the coffee table, a new message lighting up the screen. They all turned as one. What other crises awaited them? "What now?" Helen whispered, dread and determination warring in her heart. The answer hovered just out of reach, and as she hesitated, a sinking feeling told her this was not just another day anymore. This was the beginning of something far more complicated than she ever expected. Helen held her breath as Olivia reached for her phone, the screen illuminating her friend's face. "It's from Jamie," she said, her voice shaking slightly as she read the text. "He's warning us that there's been talk at the city council meeting they might bring up zoning issues to shut us down." The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. Zoning issues? It felt like a bureaucratic weapon aimed straight at their dreams. How could they do that? Helen asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Easy," Olivia said, her eyes darting back to the message. "They have the power, and they're not afraid to use it. They think they can make us disappear. But Jamie believes we can push through if we rally our supporters. What if they come after us personally?" Helen shot back, her heart racing again. "What if this gets worse?" "That's a risk we have to take," the man interjected, his tone calm yet firm. "They can't silence us if we stand together. We'll turn this around. Let us mobilize our friends and get people talking. Let us make this an issue they can't ignore." Helen's frustration bubbled just beneath the surface. "I didn't sign up for a fight against the city. All I wanted was to help people." "I understand. But sometimes, helping people means getting your hands dirty," Olivia said quietly, her gaze steady. Helen felt the heat of Olivia's determination washing over her, grounding her emotions like an anchor in stormy waters. "Okay," Helen breathed, feeling an unexpected swell of courage fill her. "Let us organize a meeting. We need to get the neighborhood involved, show them what we're about." "Absolutely. Jamie can help with that, too. He knows a lot of folks in the area," Olivia said, hope flickering back to life in her eyes. "But we will need more information. We can't go in blind." Just as Helen began to feel the rhythm of action build, Olivia's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from someone unknown, and her expression changed from determination to confusion. "What now? Who is this?" "Show it to us," the man urged, his brow furrowing in concern. Olivia read aloud, "I know what you're doing. If you don't stop, you'll regret it." A chill snaked down Helen's spine. "Threats?" Helen's voice cracked. "They're threatening us now?" "Yes," Olivia said, fear creeping back into her tone. "But that just means we're onto something. They feel their grip slipping. Or they're closing in," Helen pointed out, biting her lip to hold back panic. "We have to be careful. I refuse to let fear stifle what we can accomplish," the man said, resolve rippling through his voice. "We're not backing down. We fight back. Together." Olivia's voice was steadier now as she met their eyes. A fierce bond uniting them in purpose, but deep down, Helen felt turmoil roiling within. They were brave to take a stand, but at what cost? Would they risk everything for a chance to build something good? As they conspired their next steps, Helen's phone buzzed, causing her to jump. The name flashing on the screen was one she hadn't seen in a long time: her brother, Jake. His message read, "I need to talk." It's urgent. Her stomach nodded. What did Jake want? What new crisis could he possibly bring into her life right now? Not now, she whispered to herself, tension spiraling anew. And just like that, Helen felt the weight of uncertainty settle over her. She still had a fight ahead, but now she faced a personal storm brewing at home. Would they be able to handle it all? Would they be strong enough to face what came next? The stakes were rising, and in the dim light of Olivia's living room, Helen realized the battle was only just beginning. What other secrets would unfold in this tumultuous night? Helen faced the tumult of the moment, her heart pounding as her phone lay still in her palm, a direct line to her past, her brother. Jake had been a source of both strength and chaos throughout her life, and now he was on her doorstep, demanding attention at a time when she desperately needed to focus on her future. With a determined breath, she reminded herself of the collective ambition they had sparked and the community they were beginning to cultivate. She couldn't allow distractions to derail them any longer. Let us focus on what matters, she urged the group, her voice trembling slightly but charged with determination. We need to defend our dreams. Olivia and the man, whose name she still hadn't caught amidst the whirlwind of their plans, nodded in agreement. Then let us rally our troops, Olivia said, her earlier worries fading as she lit up with purpose. We'll gather our supporters and make it clear we're not backing down. Not now, not ever. As the trio made their plans, Helen made a silent vow. Whatever tempests loomed, whether from the city, her brother, or from whispers of doubt amongst the townspeople, she would not let it deter her from this newfound mission. They would face it all together. Hours passed quickly as they organized a meeting for the next evening, gathering neighborhood support like fireflies drawn to light. Helen felt the weight of fear shift, intoxicating her with hope and exhilaration. That night, as she lay in bed, the night silent except for the dreamlike chatter of crickets outside, Helen finally felt a sense of peace. Could they really mobilize? Transform the lives of those who had been merely surviving along with her? Damn right they could. The following evening, Helen found herself standing in front of a packed community center, every face she loved illuminated in the warm glow of the overhead lights. They looked expectant. Nervous. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice clear and ringing through the room. Things have changed. We've faced silencing threats, but this only confirms that we're on the right path. They're afraid of what we can create together. A ripple of applause met her words, igniting the momentum she desperately craved. For the first time since her return to the light, she felt truly seen, heard for the fighter she had once been. She swept her gaze over the audience, allowing their energy to fuel her resolve. Just then, Olivia stepped up beside her, injecting an electric current back into the atmosphere. We are starting workshops, she announced, proud. We want to uplift our community and share our hidden talents. Let us brainstorm and push our dreams forward. Around the room, people responded, sharing ideas that mirrored their heartbeats. Some suggested art classes, others offered to teach languages, and practical skills flowed into discussions about job preparedness and emotional support. The spirit of unity soared, drowning out the shadows that once threatened to envelope them. Then suddenly, a familiar figure stood from the back. It was the woman who had challenged Helen weeks before. What if we fail? She asked, a furrow deepening her brow. Then we rise together. Helen replied, the words bursting from her heart. Falling means we've dared to dream, to reach beyond the everyday. We learn from every stumble, and we're not alone. The crowd erupted, the applause sonorous and reassuring. As Helen continued rallying her neighbors, she realized the core of the conflict shifted. It wasn't just about opposing forces lurking in the shadows anymore. The bigger battle lay with their own self-doubt. With every story shared that night, her brother's issues began to fade at the edges of her mind. She wouldn't neglect him, of course, but that could wait. Now wasn't the time to grapple with her past. It was about forging the future, and as night deepened outside, they set each other's hearts aflame, weaving together a tapestry of connection, resilience, and strength. In that moment, Helen pledged to herself, not simply as a maid but as the fighter pilot she was. With unity as their shield, they would prevail. Returning home that night, she opened her phone and saw her brother's message again. But this time, the weight felt lighter. "I'll call you tomorrow," she whispered into the silence before tucking her phone away. The future was bright. The light had pierced through the darkness, and together, they were ready to face whatever came next, storm or shine. And as she drifted off to sleep, Helen's dreams were filled with soaring planes, laughter, and the warmth of a community finally emerging from shadows. Their story had only just begun. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our journey. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this electrifying ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support.